Now, earlier this summer, we lost an iconic and beloved former Knoxville High School teacher, administrator, and coach. Mike Kemmer, who spent 35 years at Knoxville High School from 1980 to 2015, teaching math, serving as a principal in his final 4 years, and serving as Blue Bullets baseball head coach and assistant football coach, died June 17th after a long battle with Alzheimer's. He was 69. His 1982-83 Blue Bullets baseball team went 20-2 and reached the Class A state quarterfinals, and he led Knoxville to a school record 22-7 mark in 1999-2000, a team which his son Kris played on. Mike was inducted into the Illinois High School Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame in 2003 and into the newly formed Knoxville High School Athletic Hall of Fame in 2023. Off the athletic field, Mike was a revered teacher in the classroom, an elite math teacher, and a mentor to many students. Here to share some memories leading up to Thursday's celebration of life for Mike Kemmer are his son Kris, along with a couple of his former players, John and Eric Hughes. So guys, thank you for joining me to share some memories on Mike today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. So I started my career as a sports writer at the Register Mail in 1985. So right around the time, a few years after Mike started, and we had many conversations on the phone. That's back in the day when, even before fax machines, so all the coaches had to call in. There was no emails or anything like that. So a lot of good memories with Mike. So before we get into talking about Mike a little bit, Kris, why don't you kind of talk about Thursday's celebration of life? What's gonna, where's it gonna be? What's gonna be? Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no problem, Jay. So the school has been kind enough, like you said, they're 35 years all in one building, pretty rare these days. I think it's becoming more rare. So they've been kind enough to let us host a celebration. We're calling it a celebration of life, a celebration of community. And so it's going to be Thursday night at the high school from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. I think the doors are opening up at 6 o'clock so folks can get in there and get a seat. But it's just really an opportunity. Truly not just to celebrate my father, which is obviously a big part of it, but an opportunity hopefully for a community around the area, around Knox County, the Peoria area, to come together and just reflect on a lot of things that not only he did, but a lot of the good that the communities have done, and just probably hopefully a good reminder of what's been done and what can be done in the future moving forward. So he wouldn't want a big festivity like this. We did a real private burial, but I do think he'd be excited to talk and hear about education and coaching and baseball and the positive impacts that the community has made in those areas for sure.
Okay, kind of talk about who are going to be some of the speakers on Thursday.
Yeah, sure. So Jody Heiss is a 30-year educator at Knoxville as well. She would have served alongside my father and then also was a teacher when my dad was principal there. She's had 2 boys graduate from there, outstanding athletes. Her husband it was an outstanding baseball player, amongst other things. Played under my father, was on that 1983 state team, and also has worked in the district, I believe, as a principal. Eric, you might be able to correct me there, but so they're just a great family. She's going to provide some perspective from the educational point of view. And then we have Ron Nelson, longtime assistant baseball coach at Monmouth College. He coached with my dad some, mainly in youth baseball, but was around Knoxville baseball his entire life. And my father coached his son. And then additionally, I will have a few words on behalf of the family. And then Craig Stammen, actually a former college teammate of mine, played in the major leagues for 14 years, I believe, and is currently in the front office with the San Diego Padres. He's actually flying in Thursday to speak as well. So fingers crossed that plane lands on time. But it's going to be a great night that we're hoping even local current student athletes consider coming out. Craig, I've heard speak many times amongst the others as well. I think it'll be a good event. Like I said, honoring the community as much as my father as well.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a great time on Thursday. A great event to honor a special man. So, John and Eric, you both played for Coach Kemmer. Kind of talk about when you played for him, what sports, and what made him such a special man.
John, I'll go. Okay. my experience with him is a little bit, mine is unique. I played baseball for him for 4 years. He taught me math. I remember him being an outstanding teacher. Probably, or definitely one of the reasons that I went into education was Mike Kemmer. Just kind of the way he treated people and the way he ran a classroom and the way he did things. In terms of that. But then later on, I had a 2-year stint at Knoxville as the athletic director and the boys basketball coach and assistant football coach. So he mentored me as a student, mentored me as a player, as a baseball player, and then I was fortunate enough to see him later in life as a mentor, as a professional, and then as a friend. And he's one of the most decent and noble human beings I know. He did things right, and I still kind of live by the credo that he gave me when I was at Knoxville, was as long as you're making decisions that are in the best interest of kids in education, then you're in the right. You can feel like you're in the right. So he was an instrumental part of my life in terms of my career path, playing for him, and then after the few years I spent there, he was a great mentor and friend to me as well.
Okay. How about you, Eric?
So Kris and I went to high school together. So Coach Kemmer was my coach, and from youth league all the way up through high school. And just like John said, just a great person. You respected him all the time. He was always positive. I've never seen Coach Kemmer be negative towards anybody. He'd always come to a kid, put his arm around him, say, you made a mistake, just do better next time. He's just a great person, great guy. And then, like my brother was saying, piggyback off him, my first 4 years of teaching in Knoxville, Mr. Kemmer was my principal, and he gave me a lot of great advice as being a first-year teacher, just on classroom management and how to deal with kids, and how to stay calm. And he just had that demeanor. Mr. Kemmer was just a great guy.
Are you guys like me? Anybody who was my coach, can you ever call them by their first name? You guys maybe kind of go back and forth, but are they always coach?
It's either Coach or Mr. Kemmer.
Okay.
He was a little bit more revered. He was Mr. Okay. I still call you Coach as old guy.
Okay. Kris, you were quoted in a really well done Peoria Journal-Star article saying about your dad, he did it his way in a different way and had success his own way. What did you mean by that?
I think I tried to give a couple examples too of, like a Coach John Wooden, et cetera. But I think some of it's personality traits that just remind me of some of those coaches I mentioned. I think I mentioned Tony Dungy as well. That I don't know, even if people who don't know my father, that's why I try to give those examples. You see, especially in the sport of football, right? Which my dad was never a head football coach, but sometimes you look at a man like Tony Dungy, and it's kind of surprising his demeanor.
Yeah.
I wonder how he controls a locker room, and that's what I would say. Like my father just had I didn't realize it at the time. I mean, looking back now as an adult, for sure, just this interesting ability to be himself, true to himself, his character, and living to a high standard in all aspects of his life, and being so kind and humble, but yet, when it came to getting to work and doing things the right way, people got in line and followed. He didn't have to yell, I guess. He didn't have to, he was, swear words were not allowed. One of us have stories about benchings and so forth. Like, he just held a high standard. He held himself to it first and foremost. But his kindness and his humility is unique, and to see it work is cool. I think it speaks to authenticity, right? So, no, it was just really, really unique, especially to reflect on.
I'm sure, like any coach's kid, you were there from the time that you can remember. I don't know what they call it in baseball, a gym rat. You were just always probably tagging along, practicing. When did you kind of know what a coach was, and was it always kind of in the back of your mind that you wanted to be, like your dad?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a little kid, being the bat boy, being on the buses, I couldn't tell you for sure what age. I just think I definitely at a young age fell in love with sport and realized I thought it was pretty cool that my dad was the head coach, and it seemed to be a pretty successful program. And I definitely think I realized that kids listened to him pretty young. And I'm like, man, maybe I don't listen to him all the time. I don't know, maybe these big guys are. maybe I should, So it was, I don't know exactly what age, Jay, but I think I figured out pretty early that he had something good going on, and he knew what he was doing. So we still butted heads. We butted heads a lot in baseball, but that's just that father-son dynamic that I guess nobody can get completely away from. But that's okay. He was outstanding.
Okay. This is all for all three of you, and I guess we'll start with you, John. What was Coach Kemmer like in games? What was his demeanor, and what was his style of coaching?
He like these guys have said, he had one persona. He was calm, he was positive, and it never changed. And some of the biggest moments I can remember, Coach Kemmer, he's talking to you, and like he's teaching you, like he was teaching me algebra. Mm-hmm. Like he was the same guy all the time, and that quiet, confident, certainly we followed. And then Kris mentioned it before. He's lived by a great code, and it was an admirable one, and just so humble and always willing to share and be just a great guy and easy to play for. That I can remember, like Kris said, he was so good at bringing a diverse group of personalities and people together and getting you to buy in for one goal.
Okay. How about you, Eric?
I mean, John pretty much said everything that I was going to say, but I can just remember our senior year, we're in the regional championship game. We lost a heartbreaker and extra innings, and Mr. Kemmer still had that calm, mellow demeanor. You can obviously tell he cared a lot, but he just had that demeanor, like John said, all the time, on the field and in the classroom. Everybody just respected him as a coach and as a teacher.
Could you guys tell that he was kind of a different kind of coach, across the field from the opponent or other coaches you had? Was he kind of different?
Sure.
You guys need to answer that one. He's missing on that.
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest with you, like I see myself, I wish myself now as an older coach, I could be more like Mike Kemmer and have some of that calmness and less emotion filled. But yeah, he was for sure different, and you just kind of felt relaxed playing for him, and felt that the guy on our sidelines had confidence in you and instilled that, and really believed in the group of people he put on the field.
As far as baseball, did he have a certain style? I mean, was he kind of a, sit back, wait for the home run, fundamentals, like to run? What kind of baseball did he like to coach?
Yeah, I think of pitching and defense. I mean, we didn't, especially by today's standards, we didn't hit a whole lot, but just like math class, right, Eric? Like examples. Like it was just his teams played hard. They played fundamentally sound. I think he told me when I would ask him sometimes, like, Dad, how come we never worked on this or worked on that? He would say, it's a short season. I want my kids playing multi-sports. I don't have them very long. Like, I'm going to focus on the team aspects, which was situational baseball and fundamental baseball. And if we ran in some home runs, awesome. He had some horses some years for sure that could do that, but it was all about the fundamentals. Pitchers throwing strikes. He had a lot of unbelievable pitchers. His staff's always threw strikes, and they always played defense. And in small town baseball, it allowed him, a chance to compete for conference and regional championships consistently. Would you? Is that fair, Eric? I knew you were going to say something.
100% fundamentals. 100%. I mean, I can remember working on fielding and pitching, and we didn't do as much hitting as we would like to have, but 100%. We worked on a lot of the fundamentals a lot at practice.
Kris, kind of talk about your dad's background. Where did his sports background come from? Was he a player growing up?
Yeah, he actually played for a couple legendary coaches. This Coach Taylor over in Chillicothe Coffee area in football, and then Coach Dale Ober, who he married his daughter, my mother. So Grandpa Dale passed away in 2019. He actually is in the Hall of Fame as well, the Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame in Illinois. And so yeah, I think my dad, they're very different personality wise, but there's no doubt my father took a ton from him, and he was just very active. He grew up in a little village called Mossville. Went to an elementary school there that I don't know if that's still open. I don't think it is. But loved his years in Mossville Little League, even coached there at a young age, but then was very active in Chillicothe, the athletics. I think he played some basketball too, but he was mainly football and baseball. And he played, from all accounts, he played the same way he coached. He was just a fundamental guy, do whatever the coach wanted, do whatever the team needed. And, just, made the regular plays. Like I said, a good leader, I don't think a superstar by his own words, but just a good, solid, fundamentally sound player that, I think definitely probably carried forward into his coaching style, it seemed, for sure.
How did he end up in Knoxville?
Knoxville offered him a math teaching job out of college. He graduated from Illinois State University and was married. And I don't know exactly who hooked him up over in Knoxville, but somehow got an interview over there and took a math position out of college.
Okay.
Never left until he retired.
Okay. I think I read where you said he liked to use the game to teach life. I guess for all three of you, how would you say that Coach Kemmer used the game to coach life?
Me personally, I can remember my senior year, I was really struggling. And he actually pulled me out of, I think it was pre-calculus or whatever math class we were in at the time. And when we had some extra time at the end of class to work on it, and he said, "Hey, I noticed you're not playing very well, but I also noticed like how you're going about your business. You're not very happy. Is something wrong?" So he spent like 15 minutes of math class just talking to me about the things that were bothering me personally. Like he invested in you as people, cared about how you were, and that, I think that goes a long way. And he wanted you to know that he cared about you on the field, off the field, in the classroom. Just genuinely, if you're one of his guys, he loved you. And that's something I've always tried to instill in my players as well.
Okay.
For me, it was my freshman year. I decided not to go out for baseball. That was the first year I didn't play baseball. And same thing, that spring, after the first couple practices, he pulled me off to the side and just, didn't pressure me to play. He's like, if you want to play, Eric, play. If you don't feel like it this year, I understand, but we'd love to have you come back out, your sophomore and junior year. And sure enough, I missed the sport. I missed Coach Kemmer, as a person playing for him. And I ended up playing my junior and senior year. And just like John said, just not pressuring me and just being himself and how some coaches will really pressure a kid to play even though they're not loving the sport. And Mr. Kemmer didn't do that. He let you be yourself, and he let you figure out things for yourself.
How about you, Kris?
I think as a dad, it's just all so intertwined. It's really hard to articulate. But yeah, I think what stands out to me is from the coaching is just how much he cared for the players, which I think maybe, sadly, maybe it isn't always the case. I mean, I know these two guys have coached a ton and do care about their players, but hopefully that's more the norm than not the norm. But I think the way he cared about the guys who didn't play was special, and I think maybe a little more uncommon. It's just some of his best memories are of players that hardly saw the field, I mean, to the end, actually. Some of his memories, I might share one on Thursday night, but I think doing some coaching myself too, it's just, it's hard. The profession of teaching and coaching is so difficult, so challenging, and hasn't gotten any easier. And to look back and see how he was able to do it and love all of his players equally was something extremely admirable from my point of view, that probably took for granted a little bit, just like a lot of things, but it speaks, I think John mentioned it, the ability to truly build a real team and make sure everybody feels like they have a role, was definitely special.
We know he was, mild mannered, kind of a low key guy. Did he have any kind of personality traits or any kind of sayings or phrases that you guys can remember that were kind of like you can just look back and think, oh, that's what Coach Kemmer used to say all the time or do all the time? Just kind of a straightforward.
He wasn't a master of the English language. If anything, he was messing up where he taught math, not English. Right?
Okay.
If anything, my oldest sister has that in common with him. Like, we'd laugh about it all the time. They just come up with words. But if anything, I mean, when he would get angry, especially if it was other than with me, with an umpire, with another player or something, I could think of things. Not that it would yell, but just some of his, when he would get angry, like he wouldn't have to do much, but you knew he was upset. And I can picture him right now being mad at an umpire and him just trying to hold himself back. Probably a dag nabbit, or gosh darn it. Like, there wasn't,
Cricket.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. He had the discipline to hold himself back, but there was a pretty consistent amount of that sort of thing for sure that I can picture in my mind's eye right now. But not one particular saying. No, I loved what John said, the code of if it's what's best for the kids, I mean, that's all that matters, like that. Those are the type of things he absolutely lived by. If he was sitting here today, he would probably reel off some Bible verses that were things he lived by. I'm not for sure what exactly they would be, but I know that was a huge part of who he was.
Okay. I've heard that he's been described as one of the best math teachers of all time. What made him such a good math teacher? I don't know if you guys are big math fans or not. I wasn't necessarily.
I was at school.
Okay.
A lot of it had to do with him. It was just the way he explained it. He was very detailed, kind of like when he coached. And the more the way he coached, he made sure that everybody understood it. And if you didn't understand it, he was willing to spend extra time with you doing it. But I just really enjoyed him showing us and then helping us get through it. And like I think Eric said, sometimes he knew exactly when to let you figure it out on your own. And then he also knew exactly when you needed help. So I thought he was really good at reading people and understanding people and then relating the subject to them, because I used to be smart in school. I had all the advanced classes, and I had him for them, and it was easy with him. It honestly was. Just the example and him being really patient and working through it with you and being willing to give you feedback and criticism in a way that made you want to get better at it.
Okay. Kris, you're going to speak. You mentioned at the Celebration of Life. What's your kind of theme going to be? Is there any one kind of short story you're going to share that you can share with us that you're going to talk about Thursday night?
It's still kind of coming together, but the theme for the night is education, baseball, faith, and family. So I think I am gonna be the last person speaking, and so I'm gonna try to touch on all those aspects, And I think again, part of the art. My mother's very much an introvert. We had a private burial for 15 people. He is buried in Knoxville, which I think is special and cool because they had been away for a while. And so, like I said, I think this is just an opportunity for us to. Our thought process was, me and my sisters, was to do something, obviously honoring my father, but hopefully it's honoring of the community and hopefully a bit of some positive memories for my mother as well. We wanted to kind of take this off her plate. But I'll touch on really all aspects, and there'll be some where I'm going to try to channel him a little bit. He lost the last 10 years essentially, and didn't get to interact with people, and to some extent even us, So I think, I'm hoping that I can do a little bit of that, and so we'll see. But that's kind of where my thought is. I definitely want to speak to the teaching community and the coaching community, and then on behalf of the family, and then also speak directly to the family hopefully in a way that, he would want, he wouldn't want all this, but he would want to tell everybody that he loves them, and that, that he wishes, I'm sure, that he could have caught up more with folks and stayed in touch, etc. But so, I got a few things, and just hoping it all comes together. Truly, everyone's welcome. I know for sure there's going to be people there that don't necessarily want my father, and that's fine. That's good. This is a little bit different deal. It's, like I said, more of a community event, and I think there'll be, hopefully, the other thing he would love is if there was maybe some educational moments. Maybe I walk out of there being like, wow, what Jody said or what Ron said was impactful. I think, who knows? Who knows? You got to just see what happens. But I do think it'll be a special night for the community.
Why do you think he fell in love with Knoxville and it just, basically wanted to stay there for his whole career?
Wow. I think it just speaks, one of the characteristics of him, and I don't know, whatever thoughts you guys would have is maybe as good a guess as me, but I just see him as such a loyal person. He's just not, and again, there's nothing wrong. I've moved many times, the world has changed. That's some of it, for sure. Like we've all three of us here have moved. Like I don't want anybody to feel, like they're not loyal, but I think my father was just at that time of his life, and he just didn't probably love change, and but it is fair to say, would you guys agree with that? Like he's a very loyal person that, when he felt like he was a part of something, like he wasn't going to give up or quit, ever. So I don't know.
I agree 100%, Kris. Definitely loyal. And I that's probably one of the top reasons why he probably didn't leave here.
And I talk about the football aspect of it. What was he like as a football coach? He was an assistant coach, but how was he, with that sport compared to baseball?
John was quarterback. What do you got, John?
Well, I was quarterback, and I got to coach with him in my 2 years there. So he digested it and then broke it down better than anybody. I don't know that I remember a lot from when I played for him, because I think D-Dub kind of mentored me or yelled at me during those times. But
that's Dave Whiteman.
Dave White. Another Knoxville legend. But
yes,
when we were coaching together, I'll never forget like being on the sidelines with him, and we're all worked up, and he just very politely tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, have you ever thought about this?" Or I think if we ran this play here and this situation, it'd be really good. And like 95% of the time, he was spot on. He was really good at diagnosing the game and understanding the game. And like Kris said earlier, I think his role in the football team was different. Like I think he was more of the analytics type guy. So he was really good at that. And then he's really good at, Eric said it earlier, walking over to you when something wasn't bad and putting his arm around you and saying it's okay. And that speak to some of the things Kris said, like the man endured. Like because I coached at Knoxville for a while, went through a couple lean years, but he endured the highs and the lows and was still the same guy every day at work. He had some great seasons. He went through some really bad seasons, but he was still loyal to the community, the school system, and the people there, that he just kept showing up and loved it and poured his heart into it.
One thing, Jenny, we just found out was that, Eric Clevenger told me this. I was kind of surprised that he is the longest tenured head coach in the history of the school.
Okay.
At the 21 years. And the only reason why he stopped was because he became athletic director. And so I thought that was interesting. 21's a long time, but I didn't realize that would be the longest of any sport. Did you guys know that? Does that sound right to you?
That sounds right to me. I did not know that, but that does sound right.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big deal. How about, what do you think Mike would like for his legacy to be, finally, as we wrap up?
I'll let you guys go first.
Eric, you gonna go?
Nope, you go.
All right. Well, I mean, just the way he treated people. The way he treated people, and like I said, like, he treated you with kindness. He was humble. He was also, like, he was a brilliant guy. He taught all the upper level math classes at Knoxville, but you never quite recognized that about him because he was so humble and so willing and wanting to share his gift with other people. Just that the way he treated people and the kindness and the humility that he went about life, that he never once talked to me about faith when we were going through school, but he was the kind of guy that you could tell lived by it and lived by faith, and he never had to say it, but you knew what kind of guy he was.
Okay. How about you, Eric? I think we might have just lost Eric there. How about you, Kris? What do you think? What do you think your dad would want his legacy to be?
I think first, I mean, he would first say that he would be very uncomfortable talking about it. But I think it's love. He's just in his own way. He just showed an immense amount of love to people, mainly in a servant way, I would say, and just trying to do right by people. And and you think a lot. Sometimes I think in the faith, sometimes there's a verse or a line that talks about running the race and running it well. And I think the race of life, the journey that we're all on, and he did just that. And humbly, quietly, he'll be shocked by people showing up Thursday night, just absolutely shocked, and but it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat that somebody with his disposition and the way he went about his business is somebody that can be honored, and I think especially in small town America, whatnot, like, I just think it's cool, and it's a good reminder to me and to everybody, outpouring of love. It's just like, it's a special place back there, Knox County, Galesburg, Knoxville, all of it. Like, we were all blessed to grow up there, without a doubt.
Okay. Why don't you sum up, before we end here, sum up what's going to happen on Thursday?
Yeah, so again, celebration of life, celebration of community. We're going to have 3 or 4 speakers. It is 6:30 to 8 o'clock, some refreshments to follow. Doors are going to open at 6. It's open to everyone. We hope people will come. I hope some student athletes will show up. I know my own student athletes in my family, my children, were impacted greatly by listening to Craig Stanman and Ron Nelson. So if you're a student or if you're an athlete, obviously you didn't know my father, but come on out. There's plenty of room. Doors do open at 6 o'clock. Get a seat, and it's going to be a great night, talking about education, baseball and coaching, and family, all wrapped around community. So I hope to see some people there. It might be a little bit tough to say hi to everyone, but afterwards we're gonna have some refreshments and chat it up. So it's gonna be a special night for a special man and for a special place.
Okay, Kris Kemmer, Eric Hughes, John Hughes, thank you for joining me today to share some memories about the great Mike Kemmer. He'll be forever remembered as a legend in Knoxville. So thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks for having us, Jay.
Okay, thank you.